Oh, yeah, yeah. All right, I want to call this February 2024 meeting to order. Shall we read us in pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we're here to discuss the levy rates for the next year's next cycle levy. And after looking at the numbers from what John proposed, and I proposed, and an original, I want to make a I'm gonna make a motion. Go back to the original numbers of the 2019-2024 levy, providing that on July 1st, 2024, the commission will commit to taking 6 deputies off the excess law levy, minimum of 6, transferring them to 10, maximum 10, transferring from the excess levy onto the county general account.
That'll be under the motion.
That's the end of the motion.
Can I ask a question? Oh, we need to go ahead and have a second or,
No, I think you can ask a question first.
okay. So you're gonna go back to the original, which had the fire at a net 1,740,052. The libraries at 535,030. And law enforcement at 1,171,000.
Well,
Yeah, I think the goal in this, John, from the very beginning, was to move the deputies off the excess levy onto the general account. We have excess funding. We have a surplus of funding.
Okay.
So that was the reason for this in the beginning, is to make sure these deputies are taken care of and pulled onto the general account.
Okay.
So whether it's your proposal, my proposal, or the original, this is what the end factor was going to be anyway. That's what my goal was.
I wanted to add something. I had asked Ruth about how many we could afford to pull off of the levy this year, and she told me we could afford 6. I know you said 6 to 10, but she told me she might be able to squeeze out a 7th, but 6 for sure. And the 6 was going to save $513,000, put that into the law enforcement levy. So just so you know, there's a substantial amount of money. And one of our big concerns is that levy has always gone down to almost nothing. And then we're still buying cruisers. The cruisers right now around 60,000, including the cruiser and the decals and all the equipment they have to get on. So we'd still be able to afford the minimum that sheriff asked us for, which is 2 a year out of that budget, and plus then probably put something toward a fire range or something like that. And another thing I want to point out is some of the levy language, proposed levy language has changed. I made some proposals based on discussions that the commissioners' suggestions that they had had. One of them, of course, we mentioned is 4 years instead of 5. So we changed that language in there to make sure it ensures with the comports with the budget. I also made some changes from that old English law language in the hard to understand, to change it over, and I ran it by our lawyers to make sure that it still made the right legal sense and that I caught everything. But just so people understand, this is for public services, like it kept saying purposes, and I want them to understand these are public services. Also added that law enforcement it's for their salaries, benefits, and we added equipment and facilities to allow us to have more flexibility when it comes to spending levy funds on extraordinary expenses they have. But also added not covered by current revenue, because we do cover some law enforcement with current revenue, where we're unable to do that for libraries. I also made the change to the library description and qualified it as operate and maintain public libraries. It just said libraries before, and I don't know that it has, but I don't think this levy should fund private libraries. So I just wanted to make sure that we're paying for something that people are going to hog with themselves and not with public funds. Of course, we left the fire language the same because that's worked for us. So, but then, I'm trying to think, it seemed like there were a couple of other things. But just to make it more clear, you know, when we put what they're voting for, fire levy, law enforcement levy, public levy. So at the end, when they're picking, then they can see, even if they don't read everything above it, they can see. Another provision that's in here that's new and that I think is important, and I know Commissioner Luisos has been advocating for, is that the county commission every year, every levy year, is able to look at the levy income from the year before and make a decision of whether to temporarily reduce the levy for the upcoming year if we have excess money. And that's with any, whether it's fire, library, or law. And that would only be good for that one fiscal year. And then they would go back to their original rates, you know, or unless we decided, or whoever's here decided that, you know, if we didn't need to collect as much before. So that's something that's in there. We put it on the primary, fully intend to put it on the general if it doesn't pass for some reason, but I'm really hopeful that it does. I think that was it. Can you guys remember anything else that
No, you covered
there
it.
was no substantive, but most of it was just to make it sound clear, make it easier to understand, so taxpayers who are voting for it understand. And make sure they know this is for public services and it's not just any little thing, you know. But those were the main things. With all of that said, I will second your motion.
All in favor? Just let you know,
Wait, John, in favor or opposed?
he said.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Okay. I couldn't
So that you know, we have $1 million in contingency and capital outlay because the commission's been conservative with their funding. That was what this was all about. The excess levy is not used to be a surplus money that you spend anytime you want to spend it. It's a tool to use to be able to balance a budget. Motion to adjourn.
Oh, you should say, I mean, one thing, there was something else on the agenda today. And it shouldn't have been on there. We're only allowed to hold an emergency meeting if we have an emergency. The spending issues were not an emergency. The reason this was an emergency was because we didn't finish last week. You know, so after, you know, I thought I made it clear, but I didn't make it clear to the right person because it still ended up on there. And so we're gonna have to hear that in March. If the fire service would like more time, I know you guys met last night and you put a lot of stuff together and we got it and I appreciated it with your priorities and everything. If you need more time to crunch, if you felt like you know, since you had to do that so fast, to think through a little more, put it on the agenda that works for you in March and we can look at it then. Okay,
Get it?
yeah.
So motion to adjourn.
Motion, second again.
All right.